On this episode of the Oklahoma Breakdown with Ikard and Lehman, presented by Riverwind Casino, we discuss the Michael Fasusi commitment. Then we give three bold predictions for OU season in 2024. Then Oklahoma State linebacker Nick Martin joins us. And of course, we give you our winners and losers of the weekend. Please download and subscribe to the podcast, rate it 5 stars, and write us a good review. Follow the show on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. Just search Oklahoma Breakdown on any of those, and you'll find us. All right, our man Michael Fasusi will kick this thing off. It's time for the Oklahoma Breakdown. It's a beautiful Sunday, August 25th, and you're listening to the Oklahoma Breakdown with Ikard and Lehman, presented by Riverwind Casino. Riverwind is Oklahoma City's premier casino experience, and there are so many reasons why Riverwind is consistently voted OKC's #1 casino, but it all starts with their amazing variety of gaming thrills and excitement. Riverwind's beautiful award-winning environment plays host to more than 2,800 of the latest electronic games with a huge selection of table games, including blackjack, blackjack match, roulette, and Teddy's favorite, craps. No matter what your game, Riverwind has it in spades and hearts. And to learn more about their gaming promotions and entertainment options in the month of August, all you got to do is visit riverwind.com. Riverwind Casino, simply the best. Ted, there was college football this weekend. Let's go. It's
I
almost here, baby.
know. And we started with the bang. We had an awesome game right out of the gate.
I
That
mean,
was
we'll
awesome.
get to it in winners and losers, but week 0 absolutely delivered a
Yeah,
couple times. It wasn't just the Florida State and Georgia Tech game. SMU was on the ropes against Nevada. It was a lot of fun to watch.
it was. It was. We're back. Got some good action throughout the day and off to a good start, man.
I love it. But let's start with what we always start with, and that's Oklahoma football. Massive recruiting win for Bill Bedenbaugh and Brent Venables. 5-star offensive tackle Michael Fasusi commits to Oklahoma last week. 6'5", 300-pounder from Louisville, Texas. And he did it on Bedenbaugh's birthday, Ted. What an absolute treat for Bill Bedenbaugh on his birthday.
Yeah, that was really cool to see that. What it is Bill's birthday, and what was it, the 5-year anniversary of moving to the United States for his family? Is that what that was?
It's like 5-year, 3-year. It just was very meaningful for the Fasusi family. Just a great day for Sooner fans. It is clearly a position of need. You can never have too many talented offensive linemen commit to your school. And he's one of the most talented in his recruiting class. So everyone was happy. The Fasusi family, Bedenbaugh, OU fans, Venables. It was just a day of joy for all involved.
That was cool. He got a big cheer whenever he announced it was Oklahoma. Place went crazy. Uh, Seems like a really good kid, athletic, and I can't wait to hear what you have to say about him. But from the little I've seen on some of the clips and everything, he looks like an incredible talent.
It's my opinion is based off a highlight tape, right? So
Yeah.
that is all I've seen, but I love large humans that can move.
They're rare.
And this is a big guy that has really good movement skills. And this is something I'll talk about quite a bit with offensive lineman prospects. I like the fact that he's lean, man. This is not a flabby guy. This is not a guy that you're bringing in the program going, okay, we need to trim some of this fat before we start building him up. This is a guy that looks like he's got a solid physical frame already. So that allows you, if you're Jerry Schmidt, to get to work right away with this guy, which he's a young offensive lineman. He has to add weight and he has to add strength. You can say that about all of them. But you look at the rankings, and I know a lot of people get very caught up in that. This guy is what On3's got him as the 32nd overall prospect in his class. ESPN has him as the 9th prospect overall in his class. So, of course, we're going to reference ESPN when we reference Michael Fasusi. He's a top 10 player in the class, right? That's how this thing works. But I think when you combine him and Ryan Foje in this class, there is a lot to be excited about when it comes to the tackle position. The tackle position, it's one of the hardest to evaluate. It's one of the hardest to develop. It's a really hard spot, man. And there is a lot to be excited about with these two guys that OU has in this class.
No, I totally agree. And what's good is we've been in a tough cycle, and really a lot of it is out of our control. What is it? We've had 4 tackles drafted in the last 2 years. I mean, that takes a lot out of the cupboard whenever you're
When
talking about depth.
when you lose two offensive linemen that had another year in Anton Harrison and Tyler Guyton
Mm-hmm.
and their first round picks, like it's great. You're developing first rounders, but that's a massive void to fill. And that's just the reality of the situation these last couple of years for Oklahoma.
Yeah, and because of that, we've been forced to go to the portal kind of over and over. We're in this endless loop, and it's it's good because you can go out, you can plug and play some guys, but I think the unintended consequence is, to a large degree, you cut off your development of some of your younger guys. You'd like to be able to throw a young guy or two out there surrounded by some veterans and let them develop and come along, and you kind of keep the train rolling. And it's been tough. So it feels like we're starting to get into that, where we're bringing in some recruited guys. They're starting to play a little bit, and then you add 2 guys like this. I have a feeling that they'll be, starters right away. Who knows? Probably low percentage chance, but I think they're going to be in the mix and be on the development train early, which is really good.
Saturday night, put the kids to bed. Wife's out of town for a bachelorette party. Opened some red wine. Turned on some OU commit highlights. Yeah. And here's my notes from watching Fasusi. I mentioned I love how lean he looks. He's
Mm-hmm.
not flabby. He moves well. He can run. I've seen multiple quotes that he's kind of already a 5 flat 40 guy. That's very encouraging. That is moving in high school. That is absolutely moving. And I just really like linemen that can run. There are some clips of him out in space where you just go, okay, wow. Look at how that guy is running and moving. I like the aggression and the effort that he plays with. He does a bunch of celebrations when he has great blocks. I'm all for it. I love the fact that he's out there playing with energy and playing with excitement. Now, he's a young offensive lineman. He's got all the talent in the world, but there are things he needs to work on. His pad level, he plays too high. What a high school offensive lineman doesn't, but
Yeah,
he
no
plays too
kidding.
high, especially in the run game. I think his stance is too square. He needs more stagger in his stance. That will allow him to come off the ball with more explosion and more pop. And I also think it'll allow him to be a little more sudden in his pass sets. That is something that Bill Bedenbaugh will fix on day one. I'm not worried about it. But they're not a ton of pass set clips on his highlight video. With the way that he moves, it's not a concern for me. He's clearly got the athleticism. One thing I do notice is it's very passive with his hands in pass protection. Like at that level, he can just grab guys and get away with it. He's going to have to learn to strike and be violent with his hands. All of these things I say he needs to work on. I think Bill Bedenbaugh could fix it like a week with how
Yeah.
detailed he is with technique work. So just pay attention. When I'm looking at a young O lineman, I just pay attention to the feet. I pay attention to their ability to move. And when you watch those two things for Fasusi, you love what you see.
Yeah. Just seeing his quickness in some of those, just like pass set drills and stuff. Like, no idea if the technique is any good, but just how he moves looks excellent to me. And anytime I'm looking at a young guy and trying to figure out what they're going to be, what type of player they are. It's always, who does he remind you of? So I'll ask you, who does he remind you of?
I I think it's, and this is a just an outlandish comparison, but when you look at the size and the length, the build and the movement, I'm getting some Jamal Brown vibes. I know
Okay.
that there's probably some OU fans, some younger OU fans that listen to this go, I don't really know what you're talking about. Go watch Jamal Brown. His ability, his movement patterns at the right tackle position.
Mm-hmm.
Remember, he got drafted in the first round at right tackle when that was not a thing, man.
Yeah.
That's how good he was. He won the Outland Trophy. I think Fasusi, I think he has that type of ceiling. I also
I like
think
that.
Foje has that type of ceiling. Let me tell you,
Okay.
he if he fills out physically, if Ryan Foje fills out physically, because he's a leaner guy right now. He's not super skinny, but he's lean. He's probably 270, 275. Maybe he's added weight leading into this season. But his pass set at the right tackle spot, it's one of the smoother pass sets I've seen from a high school kid. I mean, I sent it to Lane. I said, hey, this sounds crazy, dude. This high school kid set kind of reminds me of yours. And we were texting back and forth about this high school kid on a Saturday night. Like, he was like, those are some sweet top rider feet, man. That looks good. That looks good. Where's he from? And I said, hey, man, he's from Cyprus. He's coming to OU. And we were all excited about it. It is, yeah, I really like, I think Foje right now is a little more technically sound than Fasusi is, but I just trust Bill Beanbo to maximize these guys' talent. And I'm trying to think of him bringing in two more talented guys at the same time, and I really can't. I really
Yeah.
can't think of it, man. I mean, these guys can be really, really good. Now, got to stay healthy. Got to put the work in with Schmitty. Like that goes without saying. But when you just look at the natural talent to play the tackle position, this
Yeah.
is as excited about a duo as I've been since I've been covering the team.
Yeah. No, I agree. Let me ask you about their frames. You said that they both are kind of on the leaner side, which is good. What's like the goal size you think for those guys?
My my opinion differs than a lot of people on this. I lean on the. I tend to want leaner offensive linemen. So when you look at Fasusi, he's allegedly already 300 pounds. I think if you're playing at 6'5", 320, and you can move really well,
Mhm.
perfect.
I agree.
Give me a lean 320, man. I don't need my tackles 335. Give me a 315. Give me a 310. I'd rather be 310 than 325.
Yeah.
Give me guys that can move, man. I think guys that can move people. That's how
Yeah.
I've always viewed it. And
Speed moves it a little bit better than mass moves it.
I go watch some sumo wrestling and watch those little guys, those Mongolians that could just move, man. Now I'm
Yeah.
good. We don't need to go down this rabbit hole. But it is, yeah, I am that's just what I believe in when it comes to offensive line play. But that's the exciting thing about Fasusi and Foje is they've got really good frames where you can clearly see they're going to be able to add weight and strength easily, but the movement that's Jerry Schmidt and kind of Beatonbow's job is as you add that mass, keeping that movement pattern, keeping that agility the same. And I can't imagine with how good these two guys look as young guys, the movement patterns aren't going to get worse. They're not going to get more inefficient. So that's what gets you
Yeah.
really, really excited.
No, I agree. I like it. I'm excited. That's the one thing that everyone looked at and pointed at as we move to the SEC is the line of scrimmage. And I think the recruiting on the line of scrimmage over the past 2 years, as we start to get this conveyor belt rolling, has been really good. And it looks like it's getting better and better each year. So I'm thrilled with it. I'm thrilled with it. They just got to keep going, keep the guys coming online, and I think we'll be in a good spot.
I think both of those guys have like first or second round potential.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. I I'm telling you, big guys that can move, there is a premium on big guys that can move. And I like my tackles 6'5".
Mm-hmm.
I don't want my tackles 6'7", 6'8". I like that 6'5" sweet spot, long arms, guys that can move. I have a very particular type. So
Yeah,
I just think that, and those guys kind of fit right in that mold. It's,
I, I
hey,
I agree.
can Jerry Schmidt get the most out of them physically? And it's a lot on these kids. It's not necessarily on Schmidt. It's like, how much work are you willing to put in? And I know Beanbo will get them right technically. Speaking of Beanbo, back-to-back first rounders with Harrison and Guyton. We'll get to it in winners and losers, but Creed just got a massive bag.
Woo. Yes, he did.
And now he's landing 5 stars.
Ain't
Beanbo,
been looking up.
OU fans will judge him by the way that the O-line plays this year. I understand that, and that's fair. But that man's kind of got it rolling. Let's be real. Come on.
Yeah.
5-star
He
Bill.
does. He does, and I'm still optimistic that this year's group is going to turn into a solid unit. I mean, it always has under Bill, so I don't think anything different's going to happen this year. So I don't know. Going to be fun.
I like it. I'm excited. It's the most excited I've been about recruits in a while. People were asking me, "Hey, are you watching the other guys?" Like, no, I'm spending an hour watching these O linemen. What are you talking about? I know my lane.
That's funny.
All right, let's have some fun, Ted. 3 bold predictions
Yes.
for OU's 2024 season. It can be a player's stats, it can be a ranking for the offense or defense, it could be positive or negative. Where are we starting? What is your first bold prediction for the Sooners
My
this
first
season?
bold prediction. My first bold prediction, and maybe I don't know. This feels bold, but maybe it's not bold. I don't know. Oklahoma's going to have a national award winner.
Ooh.
I think obviously your two big favorites, Billy Bowman, with the Thorpe Award, should have been a finalist last year. Uh, possibly should have even won it last year with the interceptions. 3 pick six for touchdown? I think 6 overall. The incredible year that he had, some of the huge plays, goal line plays, stuff like that. And Stutzman, I mean, you have to consider Stutzman one of the front runners for the Butkus Award, and the type of year that I think he's going to have, and I think that this defense is going to have. You got a really good shot at landing a national award, and oftentimes those two have kind of come together for Oklahoma. So I think we're in a really good position for that, and we need it. Like what that will do for our defense, as far as nationally recruiting, just what everyone thinks of Oklahoma, I think will go a really long way. So I don't know. We're in a really good position for it. Defensively, it's the best position we've been in for a national award in a really long time.
I like that one. Would you be upset if I made you pick one? Get a little more specific. Are you going Butkus? Are you going Thorpe? Are you giving Elzinga the Ray Guy?
I would love that. I would love that.
You giving Zach Schmidt the Lou Groza?
Let's just go all the way around.
No,
Yeah.
that would, let's not be absurd.
I
What?
would say I would go with Stutzman
Okay.
when the Butkus. And I think, just a lot of it is just like name recognition. And I mean, obviously the play is first and foremost, but he's a loud player. And I think that being in this conference, in some of the big games that he's going to be playing in, the personality that he has, I think he's going to be a national name. If he's not already, he is to a large degree already, but I think everyone across the country is going to know who Danny Stutzman is in a big way early in this season.
Love it. It kind of perfectly transitions into my first bold prediction.
Okay.
Kip Lewis will lead the SEC in tackles for loss. Follow me on this. And I don't think it's as crazy as it may sound. First of all, Kip Lewis looks great. He is over 225 pounds. He can still absolutely fly. He's got fantastic instincts. And now he's got a much better knowledge base of the defense. He's also playing next to a veteran player that knows everything about the defense in Stutzman. And that will linebacker position is the playmaking position in this defense.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of, Ted, it's kind of how this thing is designed. And I could see teams out of respect paying a ton of attention to Stutzman. Yeah. With how productive he was a year ago, that's the type of guy when you're going into game planning mode, when it's Oklahoma week, you go, hey, how can we take 28 out of the game? How can we make sure that we've got a hat on him every single time we run the football? And I think that attention on Stutzman will allow Kip to have some more opportunities to go make some plays. Ted, do you have any idea who led the SEC in TFLs last season?
My first instinct is to go to Pierce at Tennessee.
Edgerrin Cooper, Texas A&M, 17. He had 17 TFLs. Stutzman had 16 last season. Mm-hmm. Listen, I know there's a step up in competition between what they saw in the Big 12 a year ago and what they're going to see in the SEC, especially with the schedule that OU's got. But if Stutzman had 16 last season in this defense, if Kip Lewis has a ton of opportunities and teams are trying to run the football at Oklahoma, Kip Lewis is going to have a ton of chances to make plays behind the line of scrimmage. I'm not saying it's easy. The exercise is bold predictions, okay, people?
Right.
It's not necessarily like, hey, this is going to happen. I think this is in the realm of possibility. Kip Lewis only had 3.5 TFLs last year. Mm-hmm. So it would be a massive, massive jump in production for Kip. But I think the guy's a playmaker, man. Give me Kip Lewis to lead the Southeastern Conference in tackles for loss.
Yeah. Well, and I'll say this. The biggest effect is going to be how much better the defensive line is in front of them. When those guys, when you can't move them off the ball and teams have to stay on double teams longer, I mean, it doesn't take much. I mean, it's a split second difference. A guy staying on a double and then trying to climb and the backer being able to come downhill on a better angle, a tighter angle, and be able to punch and penetrate through and go make a play behind the line of scrimmage. A lot of times, like as a linebacker, you make a bunch of tackles for loss, but what we think of sacks or whenever you blow up a play way like a reverse or something for like that's a tackle for loss, and those are, but for inside backers, the majority of tackles for loss are like a half a yard loss or a yard loss right there on a run. And that is typically done because the offensive line doesn't have time to come off on the second level players. They get stuck on those double teams and the backers can come penetrate, make a play behind the line of scrimmage. And, I think our defense is probably, I mean, this ties into my next one, but I'll just go right into my next one is I think Oklahoma has a top 3 defense in the SEC. And I think that there's a chance that we could be, a clear number 3. Like mean, we got a chance to fight to be the best defense in the SEC. Now, a lot of things have to happen for that. The numbers game, the statistics can kind of lie about how good you are, but I think we're going to be top three, and I think one of the reasons is I think we are going to lead the conference in sacks and tackles for loss whenever you combine the two together. We were off to a really hot start last year, and it kind of faded as the season went on. But when you look at some of the stuff we do, and it's not all driven off of defensive line like we typically think it is. Our like blitz packages, pressure packages coming off of different angles. What we do whenever Stutzman's up on the line of scrimmage, whenever we get in that bear look, how much better the secondary is going to be and how much better we're going to be at corner, helping our rush get home. I think that's going to be one of the big drivers of how good this defense is. That's what has always driven Venables' defenses to where they're ranked really high, is those chaos plays. That's what really drives it. And then you get way behind the chains and they can sit back, force interceptions, force turnovers. I think that formula is going to work really well this year.
I like it. I think that's going to get a lot of people excited. Now, I'm going to start sprinkling in some of our call your shots because we got a ton of responses. And Doug Swigert said that OU's defense will lead the SEC in rushing yardage defense, total yardage, and yards per attempt. So I think our man Doug is thinking along the same lines as you, Ted, that this defense is going to be one of the better units, not only in the SEC. If you're one of the best defenses in the SEC, you're one of the best defenses in the country. That's how it works. But if you could pick one category for them to be graded, it's scoring defense, right? That's how this whole thing works. Don't let the other team score. Like that's the category that I care about the most. It may not
that matters.
It may not tell the whole picture, right? Because if the offense turns the ball over in their own end and you hand the other team points, like there's all these situations, right? But ultimately, the defense's job is to not let the other team score points. So that is, if OU can lead the SEC in one category, if OU can lead the SEC in one category as a football team, I'm picking scoring offense because that would be great. That means you're scoring a lot of points. But on the defensive side, yeah, it's all about scoring defense, man. Do you keep points off the board or not?
Yeah, no, I agree. And if you can stop the run first and foremost, as that person predicted, that gets you, and that's where all those chaos plays, those tackles for loss and everything just chews into those rushing numbers. So yeah, I'd love that.
I looked it up. Texas A&M led the SEC, only giving up 108 yards per game rushing last year. Kentucky, Georgia, Tennessee were at 113. Tennessee led the SEC in yards per rush on defense, only gave up 3.19 yards per attempt.
Pretty surprising the way that Missouri ran it on them last year, but those games happen.
Listen, this is straight from the SEC stats spreadsheet. So if it's wrong, blame the SEC. But OU last year was 138 yards per game given up on the ground and 3.9 yards per attempt. So got some work to do. My next bold prediction. Running back. Ted, do you think it's bold if I say a stat is going to double from a year ago?
Yeah. If it's a good one, yeah. Well, I guess even if it's a bad one, but yeah, it's
OU's running backs will at least double their receiving yards from a year ago.
Okay.
We have expressed some frustration over the last couple of years when it comes to the lack of catches for running backs. My hope is that we are not as frustrated this season. I'm trying to speak it into existence. Throw the ball to a running back on an angle route. Throw the ball to a running back in the flat. How about this? Run a traditional running back screen. where you have linemen out in front of your running back, leading
Yes.
him graciously, just leading him down the field as he zigs in and out of the defense. I just think that I think Seth Luttrell will want to get the running back some more touches in the passing game. He respects the grind of the backfield. He knows that life. I'm just hoping he will reward the running backs with more than just a swing screen, which is pretty much the only thing we've seen a running back catch over the last couple of years. Last season, Sawchuk had 94 yards receiving. Tawee had 81. Marcus Major had 75. Javante Barnes had 23. So you're looking at your top four backs a year ago. They had 273 yards receiving. I'm going double. Please be double. What would that be? 546? The Sooners can do it. Come on, throw the ball to the backs. Let's go. Let's open this offense up just a little bit.
Yeah, they need to do it. They need to do it. And we're going to be, at least early on, I think, until we really get dialed in, need to be finding ways to help out the offensive line and, some easy stuff like that. Quick, get the ball out of the quarterback's hands, swing routes to backs. The screens that you mentioned to backs are great for changing the way that defenses play you. So, yeah, I think that'd be great. And, you know, uh, we're going to be looking for easy completions also to help Jackson Arnold, get his confidence up, get in a groove early in games. And I mean, if you ever hear Jason White talk about, one of the things like what made him great, he always credits play calling and, starting games off with easy opportunities, throws to backs, quick stuff just to get his confidence up. So I think that's incredibly important. And, I like our guys. I guess I haven't seen them a whole lot in action catching the ball, but I know Sawchuk is a really good all around back, and that kind of fits what he does well. I mean, he should be able to translate well into a receiving running back.
Maybe Taylor Tatum, with his
Yeah.
ability to catch the football, is a big factor in this prediction coming true. But yeah, I just think that you have to make it tougher on defenses, man. If
Yeah.
you're always keeping the back end as an extra guy in protection, it makes things so easy on a defense. Get those guys out on routes and throw them the ball every once in a while. That's
Well,
what I'm hoping to see.
you mentioned a couple of shows back, we were talking about like some two running back formations where you got two guys out there on the field from the running back spot. And that is a huge formation typically for throwing the football to guys. And
We
because
saw
you can
Florida
do,
State do it against Georgia
yeah,
Tech. Now I know they lost the game, but they got in 21 and Toafili was running down the field and they were targeting him, trying to get him the football.
yep. Yeah, you can run go routes out of that. You can get those guys matched up on linebackers, angle routes, swing routes. There's a lot of stuff that you can do, and we know that we've seen some really good stuff out of the backs, and that's a good possibility.
Your third bold prediction, sir. What do you got?
All right, third bold prediction. I I don't know. Am I going too bold? I don't know. Maybe I'm using my what I hope for this offense. I think Bauer Sharp leads the SEC in receiving at tight end. Um, the bar now there was a big number last year with Bowers from Georgia. Obviously, it was huge, but the bar isn't too high at that spot, and I can't watch the tight ends and how they play and not think that it's like it may not have been what they intention, and maybe it still isn't. But I feel like that's going to be one of the best position groups, and the cream's going to rise to the top. And at some point, I think it could be the tip of the spear for this offense in some regards. I think with what he does blocking, he sells out as a blocker, which makes the play action stuff to him really, really enticing. the way he goes hard, the way he comes back across the formation at defensive ends, the way he leads up the middle on backers, that sets up play action stuff beautifully. It's usually softer tight ends that, run the play action stuff, and they can't sell it as much, because the defensive guys aren't as scared as the way that they're getting attacked whenever that player's blocking. So the way he runs, the aggressive nature, I every time I see him out there, they're throwing him the ball up in the red zone. So I'll go Bauer Sharp leads the SEC from the tight end spot.
I think that's a great one. And you look at the guys that are preseason all SEC at the tight end position. You've got Caden Priscorn from Ole Miss. He had 449 yards receiving last season.
Yep. Doable.
Oscar Delp, and I know it's very different with Oscar Delp this season as compared to last season with Brock Bowers on the field, but Oscar Delp had 284 yards receiving last year. Mason Taylor, who is a really good player for LSU, he had 348 yards receiving last year. Now he had two wide receivers that had a gajillion yards, and that production needs to be replaced. But I almost think this is the most realistic one we've done. It just comes down to OU getting the ball to Bauer Sharp an emphasis of this offense.
And I just think I don't know. Like right now, it's probably Burks and, some of your explosive wide receivers and in the running game, as it should be. But whenever you get into games and the way that guy plays, it will just be shocking that at some point he doesn't become one of the major features of what we do.
I like it. I've saved my boldest for last.
All right.
I think I've made it clear that I think Deion Burks is the most explosive playmaker we've got, and that he's going to be a big-time playmaker for this football team. So here's my bold prediction. Deion Burks will have more yards from scrimmage than Missouri's Luther Burden.
Okay.
Luther Burden is arguably the best player in all of college football. He is a projected top 5 pick in the next NFL draft. He's excellent. He had 1,212 receiving yards last year and 31 rushing yards. So that's 1,243. Math's hard, but I'm pretty sure that's right. Total yards from scrimmage. Burden is a complete stud. But this exercise, it's bold predictions. So I'm going Deion Burks is going to have more yards from scrimmage, right, receiving and rushing combined, than arguably the best player in college football.
Okay.
The exercise is bold predictions. Here we go. We're being real bold.
That's right. That's right. And I like that, and we've talked about it before, but the position he plays and the type of player he is in our offense, like Luther Burden is kind of throw it up to him guy to some degree. Deion Burks is going to be catching the little touch pass, jet sweep stuff, like some of the quick little bubble. Like they're going to get him the ball a ton of different ways.
I think you're exactly right. I think they're going to throw it to him. I think they're going to hand it to him. I think they're going to touch pass it to him. I think they're going to get it to him a ton of ways. I think they're going to throw screens to him. I think he's going to have a big year in the slot.
Yep.
But it is kind of crazy. He only had 641 yards from scrimmage last year at Purdue. So to say he's going to have more production than Luther Burden it's bold, man. It is what bold. It is. But it would certainly help if Nick Anderson is healthy and Jalil Farouk is playing at a high level there on the outside, and they can draw attention away from Burks there in the slot. It would certainly help if Bauer Sharp is making plays in the middle of the field so that opposing defenses have to actually respect the tight end as a pass threat. And then the one thing that kind of led me to this bold prediction is the production that Drake had a year ago.
Yep, that's right.
Drake caught 84 passes last season. And remember, his role expanded a lot when Andrell Anthony, after he went down. But that was a ton of production for Drake. And that was without a pass threat at the tight end position. I just think that OU's got more weapons on the field this year, and you can only commit so much attention to Deion Burks there in the slot. This is also part of my logic. Ted, you're a defensive guy. You've got a defensive brain.
Yes.
If you're playing Missouri, what's the number one thing you're going to do if you're playing Missouri?
Lock down Luther Burden.
Exactly. You are going to, when you get into the game plan meeting, there's a giant red circle around Luther Burden saying, do not let this guy beat us. So that's part of my thought process as well as, hey, Deion Burks he's an explosive play waiting to happen. You combine that with, I think that defenses are going to look at Missouri's offense and go, we need to take Luther Burden out of the game. Make someone else beat us. I think that combination of things is going to lead to Burks having more yards from scrimmage than Burden. I could end up looking like a complete idiot with this one. But once again, the exercise is bold predictions. And I feel like that's a bold one.
I don't think you're going to look like a complete. I guess the only way would be like if
Luther Burden has 1,500 yards receiving and wins the Blitnikoff.
Well, yeah, but I mean, I'm very confident that if both players are healthy, whatever. I mean, I'm very confident that Deion Burks is going to be 1,000-yard receiver. All right. I think he'll be over 1,000 yards receiving with all the opportunities that they're going to give him. And yeah, it is like you look at the production you point out from Drake is excellent. And I've nothing against Drake, but Deion Burks is a guy that a lot of people have projected to be a first-round pick because of his athleticism and like that he brings. He's just a different type of athlete. So, I mean, I think that if you just gave him the same exact 84 catches, I feel confident that he would probably turn that into more than 962 yards, if that makes sense. So I think
that's fair. And I don't think that's a slide at Drake at all.
Yeah.
Guy's a damn football player. It just Burks he'll be the best athlete on the field
athlete. Almost always. Yeah. It's just a little bit different. So I don't think it's that crazy at all.
Got a couple car shots. Seth Oliveris says Nick Anderson will lead the SEC in touchdown receptions. That's bold.
That's a big one. Yeah, that's a big one.
Did some digging. Ryan Thomas from LSU last season. Now he's gone. He had 17 touchdowns last year. Malik Neighbors was second. His teammate with 14. Burden had 9. Nick Anderson had 10 last year.
Didn't both those guys have almost 1,500 yards apiece? Something crazy like that.
I was looking at all these stats. LSU's offense was insane.
Yeah. Yep.
We'll see if Nussmeier can replace Daniels. I don't know. But, yeah, leading the SEC in touchdown receptions would be big time for Nick Anderson. The last one we got, Riley Davis says OU's offensive line gives up the least amount of sacks in the SEC. Georgia last season led the SEC. Sacks given up 13. LSU and Kentucky were second with 22. That's a rather large gap between first and second. OU gave up 20 last year.
Yep. Well, I think a lot of that with Georgia is it's how they're able to play the game.
Right.
Because of how they are as a total football team. But I do think that when you have a I don't know, what do you want to call it, a question mark at a position group, there's going to be a concerted effort, play calling, offensive design to help keep that specific thing from happening. So I don't think it's as outlandish as it may seem. It doesn't mean that OU is going to have the best offensive line in the SEC. It just means that we're going to design the offense, make it an effort to get the ball out of the quarterback hands quicker. All of those things can keep you in a pretty good spot. So if that happens, if this is true, we'll be in a really good position. With as
Agreed.
good as our defense is, it's the massive negative yardage plays on offense that are going to kill you.
No doubt. All right, let's talk to Oklahoma State's Nick Martin. We love this guy. Stud. But first, fuel your journey at Love's Travel Stops and save 10 cents per gallon on gas and auto diesel. Download the Love's Connect app today. It takes just seconds to unlock savings when you scan your barcode in the app at the pump. This discount and other mobile deals on drinks and snacks are available at more than 640 Love's locations across the country. Before your next trip, download the Love's Connect app, your guide to savings on the road.
And a lot of things are changing for OU football heading into the SEC, but one thing remains the same: the football. Go to biggameusa.com/breakdown to order the official game ball for the Oklahoma Sooners. The Nike Vapor Elite, exclusively from Big Game Football Factory, is the only authentic football that OU will use on game day. It's got the OU and SEC logos on it. It is the perfect gift for any Sooner fan. Each ball comes with a certificate of authenticity to certify the football received was commissioned and created to the specifications requested by the Sooners. Go to biggameusa.com/breakdown and order yours today.
And we are brought to you by Simple Modern, the Oklahoma-owned drinkware company and #1 drinkware sales leader on Amazon and Target. And this year, Simple Modern is now the official drinkware sponsor of University of Oklahoma Athletics. Keep on the lookout. You're sure to spot exclusive drinkware options at all home games so you can stay hydrated while supporting your favorite Oklahoma team. And with 10% of all Simple Modern profits going to charity, many right here in Oklahoma, you'll also note you're helping Oklahomans off the field as well. Simple Modern, good everywhere. All right, here's preseason All-American Nick Martin. It is our pleasure to be joined by an absolute stud linebacker for the Oklahoma State Cowboys. Nick Martin is in the house. What's going on, man? How we doing?
Doing good, man. I appreciate y'all having me on. Blessed on this fine Sunday morning, just chilling with one of my dogs right here. But if you hear some footsteps, my other one in the living room. But yeah, man, just chilling.
What kind of dog we talking about? What kind of dog we taking care of?
I got a pit bull and a American bully.
All right, no one break into Nick's spot. Don't do it.
Kick that door in.
Don't choose that one. Now, I want to start with your sponsorship with Schwab Meat. This is a fun thing that they've done the last couple years.
Yeah.
NIL partnerships with an OU player and an OSU player. You're the guy this year. They told me when I asked why'd they pick you, they said you got that dog in you. So how cool is this, man? NIL, it's changed the game in college football. How cool is this partnership for you?
Man, it's definitely just a blessing, to be recognized by people outside the organization. It's definitely an honor, to do something like that and be part of what they got going on, their campaign. And me and Danny, we enjoyed the shoot and just really the whole process of it. Man, it's super dope, man, and I can't wait for everybody to see it.
It's pretty cool that we've got two of the best linebackers in the country right here in the state. What was that like between you two? There's quite a bit of mutual respect?
Oh, yeah. Respect was definitely there. Danny is cool dude. He's super funny, super genuine. And, we really just kicking it the whole time. Just getting to know each other,
Oklahoma State football has made some headlines this offseason.
Yeah.
A big deal was made of the QR code thing last week. What's the player's perspective on that? Ted and I talked about it on here. We loved it. We didn't see any negatives when it comes to, for Oklahoma State football with it, but you're one of the captains of that locker room. What do the players think of the QR code thing?
The players think it's pretty cool. That was everybody really is just waiting to see how it's all going to work, and seeing how the fans are going to be able to scan it. But they gave the equipment people gave us these backpacks, and they got the QR code on the back of them. So they really pushing it. So it's going to be really cool just see how many people donate and how it really just takes off first game and throughout the season.
You think they'd let you just change your number to a giant QR code? Could you think you could do that?
Probably not. I feel like coach wouldn't be too happy about that one.
I like to envision you making, what did you have, like 140 tackles last year?
Yeah.
I like to think you make a massive TFL and you just go to the camera and you just turn your head and you say, "Pay me, pay me."
Yeah, that would be crazy.
Do it. I don't see any reason why not. Now, Nick, you're on several preseason All-American teams. You're preseason All Big 12. Like, what does it mean to you to be on those types of lists heading into the season?
Man, it's nothing short of a blessing, just seeing how God has just been working and blessing all of us, me, Ollie, everybody that's been on those lists, just giving us the opportunity to really showcase our abilities that he's blessed us with, and just really being able to go to work every day with the guys that we've been going to work with since January, and all the bloodshed and tears being recognized. Man, it's nothing short of a blessing, and all glory goes to him. So,
I'm a big fan of your story. You weren't a super highly recruited guy. Made your way to Oklahoma State, and then you just kind of burst onto the scene last year. When did the switch flip? When did everything click to where all of a sudden you're able to start making all those plays?
I feel like I always knew that I had the capability to be at the top, and really just showcase my abilities with the best, But I just needed to keep my head down and just keep working away from my opportunity, and knowing that it was all God's plan. But I feel like I really honestly just felt like high school again was that K-State game, and it was really just everything was just clicking for us as a team. Stuff just felt super fluid. We had a great week of practice, that bye week and the week before. We really found out ourselves and our identity, and I feel like that week everything else just from there just clicked. Man,
Helps the confidence when you go out and make about 17 or 18 tackles in a game.
Yeah. I mean, it definitely gives confidence for sure.
Brian Nardo, it was year one as your defense coordinator last year. He's in year two as we start the season this year. How do you feel about the system? I know that there was a big deal made of when he was hired. It was kind of an off the radar type of hire that Gundy has become known for. But what's it like playing in Coach Nardo's system for you, Nick?
He's super genuine, man, and he cares about his players and cares about the people around him. He's real big on that family culture and making sure that we getting to know every guy on the defense, every guy on the team. Coach Gundy as well, and we switched up the scheme a little bit this year. We doing a little bit of multiple personnels and different things just to move guys around and put them in a position to be great, and play at the best of their abilities. And I ain't gonna lie, man, it's gonna be a great season.
You guys got a tough schedule, playing a lot of difficult games. Have you looked at any of them on there and circled one as maybe a game you're looking forward to the most?
I'm looking forward to all of them. Just taking it one week at a time, one game at a time. Staying grounded. I know everybody's really hyped about that Utah game, Arkansas, all those games. Because we got a pretty tough preseason. I mean, the first game we playing South Dakota State Saturday, and they been undefeated for 2 years, so that's gonna be a good game. We got to make sure that we prepare and keep preparing. Like they're the best team in the nation, and that's how you should approach every week, but yeah, man, just taking it one week at a time and stacking days.
That South Dakota State game is one where Mike Gundy looks at it and goes, "Damn it. Why is that on the schedule?" No, but I am speaking to Gundy, just We love the guy. I think he's a tremendous football coach. You know, going back, he recruited us way back in the day.
Yeah,
Recruited, or at least recruited me. And I always really enjoyed talking to the guy. I feel like everything he says, Nick, becomes a big deal for one reason or another
yeah,
publicly. But what's it like being in the locker with him and playing for Coach Gundy?
man. He is who he is. You know, he's never gonna put on the front. You know, he's super genuine and he cares about his players and he wants everybody to be the best they can be. I mean, this fall camp he pushed us to limits that we didn't even know that we could reach. You know, and I feel like honestly that really just laid the foundation for the entire season. I feel like he's one of the best coaches I've ever had. You know, man, he's a great man, a Christian man, and he cares about us as a family. You know, he's making sure that we always getting to know guys on the team, and everybody knows each other. You know, just building that family culture and keeping this thing rolling.
I mean, you guys had a good opportunity all through training camp to go up against your offense, veteran
Yeah.
group, a lot of talent, obviously one of the best players in the country, and Ollie Gordon. What was that like for you guys to be able to kind of sharpen your skills against? I mean, I'm sure they're going to be throwing all kinds of good running game out there with him. What was
Yeah.
that like in preparation this year?
I mean, man, it's just we've been going against each other for like since 2022, so it's been iron sharpening iron since then. And just stacking days, you know, just getting our best from each other, you know, just pushing ourselves to like I said to limits, you know, out there in the heat, 100-something degrees, sweating. I mean, every practice was pretty much live. This whole fall camp. So I mean, man, we ready to go.
I know ultimately it's about the team's success and you guys, you know, accomplishing your goals that you've set as a football team, Nick.
Yeah.
But do you have any individual goals for the season? I know a lot of linebackers. It's all about winning a butt kiss award. Teddy won one. That's I mean, sounds
Yes.
pretty cool. But it is. Is there anything like that for you that has been, you know, one of your goals, one of the things that you've been working towards and it kind of fueled you during the off season leading up to the season?
Yeah, I mean, so I have my goal board. I'll redo it every fall camp, right before every fall camp. Just really just evaluating and seeing what I want to reach this season. And mine were 141 tackles, uh, um, 4+ interceptions, 4 forced fumbles, just things like that. Just making sure that I'm aiming higher than I did last year. And the buckets, first team All American, unanimous, first team All Big 12, buckets, Lombardi, all of that. I mean, you know, man, defensive player of the year, Big 12. You know, I'm just aiming high because I know that I can reach these goals, and no goal is too high. You just got to stack the days to do it, you know, and just realizing that God does honor hard work, and resting in that and just keeping my head down and staying firm in it.
Now, I was curious, like who your favorite linebacker was, or who you maybe modeled your game after, who you watched growing up. You remind me of Jonathan Vilma, who I think is an incredible linebacker.
Yeah.
Watched him at Miami and then in the NFL. But is there a guy that you've tried to mirror your game after?
So I grew up watching Ray Lewis. You know, he was like my guy to watch when I grew up, and I wouldn't say I modeled my game after him or really anybody. My goal is to just look at myself in the mirror and seeing how I can reinvent the linebacker position itself. You know, I'm trying to really just kill this stereotype. You know, the guys have to be this or it's not. It's not that. You know, and I would say I model my game after myself. You know, I love Fred Warner. You know, he played for the Niners, and I mean, the Niners. That's my favorite team right now. So I watch him a lot, and his instincts are crazy, and his just football IQ and how much effort he gives. You know, man, I definitely watch him often, but I wouldn't say it's anybody that I model my game after. I wouldn't say that.
Well, Whatever you're doing's working, man. Because Ted, how many Nick Martin clips did we send back and forth watching tape last year?
Oh my gosh, it's like as soon as we're going to go play someone, and there's always someone will emerge as a guy that we're talking about. But yeah, and you've got some impressive stuff out there. And we did. We were instantly we're like, have you seen this dude? And fun backer to watch, man.
Appreciate that, man.
Your guys' team's really interesting to me because with the way the college football works now, there's so much movement. It seems like there's so much turnover on all these rosters. You got to learn all these new guys. Teammates gotta, you got to come together. You got to gel. It feels like you have every single player back on
Yeah.
offense and defense from a year ago. Just is that weird? Like, how's that feel with all the movement going on in today's college football? You guys have pretty much every single player back on your team, or at least all the starters.
It doesn't feel weird simply because of how close we are. We kind of all knew that we were all gonna come back and shoot for it one more time and this time succeed and go as far as we can because we care about each other and we want to do it for each other. It feels like high school again. How like everybody hangs outside of football and everybody's super close and the friend groups really just go across the entire team. You know what I mean? It's super unique and super genuine what we got here. You know what I mean? It's definitely super rare in college football nowadays with the portal and the NIL and how everything's going. But man, it feels normal to us, but I can definitely see how unique it is comparing it to how everything else is.
You got a couple of teammates maybe that have flown under the radar, maybe don't get talked about a whole lot that you think may be up for big seasons?
Yeah, man. I could really name the whole defense, the whole offense. Guys like Kobe Hilton, transfer from UTEP, Trey Rucker, man, Colin Clay, Colin Oliver. I mean, it's so many guys that are getting their recognition, but haven't really just got the recognition that they deserve. I mean, it's it. Man, I couldn't begin to just. It's a whole list, man. I mean, I'm expecting big years from our whole defense, our whole offense, just guys just that are really just gonna take off. I feel like the guys are really just gonna take the nation by storm, man. I'm really excited.
This one's tough, but I got to ask it. Are you going to miss Bedlam?
Yes, very much so. I really wish it was a preseason game, and I bet it will eventually, like sometime in the future. But I've been playing them since my freshman year, so I mean, bro, it's definitely gonna be weird not playing OU this year. But I'm glad we did end it on the win though. Got that sour taste out of my mouth for sure.
Never know. It could be playing it in the playoffs.
Oh yeah, it could happen. Yeah, definitely.
Playing it in the
Could
playoffs.
you imagine?
That would be insane.
That would be dope.
That would be so much fun. Yeah, but Teddy and I, we both played at OU. We're both from Oklahoma,
Yeah,
and we we want that game to return like desperately.
yeah.
I think it makes me sad that I'm not going to get to watch it this year, but I don't have to worry about you just flying through gaps and run schemes and going, "Oh my gosh, would someone block number 4, please?"
Oh man.
Nick,
Well,
I appreciate the time, man. Congratulations on all the success. We wish you a healthy season and wish you and the Oklahoma State Cowboys the best for the 2024 year. Go make some noise in the Big 12, man.
Thank you, man.
I have no problem saying this. Now that we don't play each other in football, I don't know when that game is going to return. I kind of feel like I can support Oklahoma State football. I'm not sure if I'm supposed to say that out loud or not, but it's how I feel, Nick. It's how I feel.
Hey,
maybe
man.
quietly at first and kind of
Sounds
see
good to
how
me,
it goes.
man.
Yeah, it just hey, I'm rooting for you guys. I would rather
I
I think
appreciate that, man.
Oklahoma State succeeding. I live in the state. I think Oklahoma State succeeding in football is good for the state of Oklahoma, man. So I'm wishing you the best.
I
141
appreciate it.
tackles. That's light work, man. You got it.
Got you,
Got
man.
it.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, Nick.
All right, man. God bless. See y'all.
He's really good at football. I like him a lot.
Good, man. Yeah, I can't wait to watch him. He will absolutely strike you.
Let's finish up with our winners and losers of the weekend. But first,
All you tailgaters, listen up. We are now officially in the premium conference of college football, and you expect a premium product on the field and on the grill. That's why you need Didier Ranch's steak burgers to take your tailgate to the next level. Proudly raised in Oklahoma for over 120 years, premium beef this good is hard to come by. Go to DidierRanch.com. That's DIDIER ranch.com and use promo code Oklahoma15 for 15% off your order. Didier Ranch, tradition plays better and tastes better.
3 things matter in banking: service, service, and service. First Fidelity Bank's commitment to exceptional service is more than a promise, it's their foundation. FFB has been by your side for over a century, and they are honored to be a part of your journey. Banking isn't about where you've been, it's about where you're headed. Open an account at an award-winning bank today at ffb.com. At First Fidelity Bank, we go where you go.
And head to the garage for hand smashed patties, butter, toasted buns, and ice cold beer. It's the perfect spot to watch any big game. And with all garage locations being open to 10 p.m. or later every night, it's the go-to late night spot. Visit eatatthegarage.com to find a location near you and order online from the garage in your neighborhood.
As always, Ted, kicks off. Who do you have as your winner of the weekend?
Oh, big money Creed. How about Creed Humphrey, huh? 72 milli? Not too bad.
That'll work. You can buy a whole lot of cold beer with that, brother.
Some cold beers. What I'm just thrilled for him. The best dude ever. He's clearly been incredible. He's the best center in the NFL now, right?
I think the last couple of years, especially, I think last year he was the best center in the NFL.
Yeah.
I thought he was better than Kelsey. Now, there were some people that will disagree with that, but he's outstanding. I don't know what else to say. This is the best compliment I can give Creed. It's boring to watch him. I find myself bored watching him lock down guys over and over and over again. He grabs them. They don't go anywhere. They don't move. I'm like, all right, well, this is uneventful. He's excellent. He's the best center in the history of Oklahoma football. He's the best center in the National Football League. And I have no problem saying this. If he continues playing the way that he's playing, if he continues on this trajectory, he's going to the NFL Hall of Fame. He's that good. It's just the truth. And that's why he's the highest paid center in football, because he deserves to be. He's the best. And I don't really even think it's a debate, man. He's that good.
He's great. And the other thing is, like, he's gigantic. He's strong. He holds point in the pass game. Like, I don't know how many times you see in the pass game, typical drop back pass. Then Mahomes starts to move around. There's people all over the field, and it looks like Creed is like 10 yards down the field because he hasn't moved from the line of scrimmage at all. Everyone else is way back there, and he's got someone locked down right at the line of scrimmage. It's hilarious.
Just got some vice grips on a guy. It is just made their, like, just taken away their will to play the game because they can't move once he's got him. He's incredible, man. I told everyone that would listen that he was going to be a better pro than he was a college player, and he was a damn good college player. But he's big, he's strong. I think the one thing that people don't give him enough credit about, that dude is athletic. He can run.
Move. Did you see that clip, that running play against the 49ers?
I have watched every single play he's played as a professional on tape. Because a former player, you can get access to that stuff if you ask the NFL for it. He's amazing. Like, he's so good at football. It sounds so stupid. Like, he's so good at football. And now, if you're a Chiefs fan, you've got one complaint about Creed: snaps. That's the only complaint. That's the only thing you say. Well, he's had a few, he snaps a little low sometimes. Creed has adjusted that. He's changed his grip on the snap. That issue is going away. Imagine what they would have paid him if he didn't have a couple bad snaps in his career. That's what I told
73
him.
million. Did it cost him $1 million?
They would have given you 75, dude. Come on.
Dude, just get if you could just learn to snap the ball, you're
Yeah.
really going to be good. Yeah, that dude's incredible. Happy for him. It's awesome.
Who do you have as your loser of the weekend?
I think I had to go with the Big 12. Talks that they're going to be adding UConn to the conference first in hoops. Football is supposedly going to come later. Are we just adding anyone at this point in the Big 12? Like, at some point, don't you have to go quality over quantity? I mean, UConn only brings one thing to the game. It's hoops. That is a big deal, but I don't know that does it necessarily expand your conference footprint in a good way?
You get the best hoops program that has value.
Yeah.
Especially if eventually like you split the football, like if your conference TV deal, like if that whole thing gets split. I know that your Mark has talked about wanting to make the basketball TV deal like its own separate thing.
Yeah.
So, and we'll see if that happens, but Jim Mora's done a pretty good job with UConn football. I played UConn in a Fiesta Bowl.
I remember that.
Now, they weren't a very good team, but they were there and they deserved to be there.
That was Hype's first game calling it, right?
I mean, yeah, you think about it, like that. There was once upon a time where UConn, they were playing some good ball. They won the Big East. So I don't know. I don't know what the ceiling from a football perspective of UConn is, but getting UConn hoops, I think that absolutely solidifies the Big 12 as the premier basketball conference. I think a lot of people view it that way anyways, but if you get the best basketball program, and it doesn't seem like Hurley's going anywhere after turning down the Lakers job.
Right.
It certainly doesn't hurt the brand of the Big 12. It just comes down to, okay, how are we dividing the pie when it comes to the TV deal? I don't know, but they can figure that out.
I guess I don't know what the exact formula is in the tournament, but if you're sending I mean, they could lock down the Final Four, honestly.
Right.
I mean, it's not hard to envision an Arizona, Kansas, Houston, UConn Final Four, right? I mean, that's just chalk.
Just lock up all the little credits you get for having teams in the tournament.
That's right. Yeah, and, you know, who knows? Like they mentioned maybe football coming online later. I guess being in the conference and getting a share and being able to grow your budget, you know, helps them maybe grow the football program to a point where they're okay coming online. But I don't know. I guess it's just I wonder where it stops with the Big 12 more than anything on adding people, because he seems dead set on adding as many teams as he can get to agree to it. And I get it. You want to add people, you want to add to your footprint, but every time you add, you divide the pie up. So they better bring something to the table.
We'll see. Jim Mora had a very surprising year one, big drop off last year. I have no idea. I don't think it really has anything to do with football. I think it's all about getting Hurley and that basketball program into the mix in the Big 12 and just becoming undoubtedly the superpower conference in college basketball. I think that's what it's all about.
Because there was rumors at one point about Gonzaga. Is that still out there? Have you heard?
I haven't heard anything about it in a while, but that was part of it. And all of a sudden, if UConn gets in there, is that like the nudge Gonzaga needs? And then all of a sudden, you get Gonzaga in the mix. My gosh.
Yeah, that'd be pretty cool.
The Big 12's never taken football over. That's done. So might as well try to be the premier basketball conference.
Play to your strengths.
Exactly. All right, let's finish up with my winner and loser. But first, This episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. We all have a lot going on in our lives, and sometimes as adults, we lose our curiosity to learn new things. That's where BetterHelp comes in. Visit betterhelp.com/OKC to get 10% off your first month. Therapy can help you reconnect with your sense of wonder in life. I started talking to a therapist way back when I was playing in the NFL. I was stressed out, bottom of the roster guy. Therapy helped me a lot. I'm a big believer in therapy and believe it can help so many people if they just try it. If you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online and designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. All you do is fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist, and you go from there. You can even switch therapists at any time for no additional charge. Therapy can help you focus on what really matters in life. Rediscover your curiosity with BetterHelp. Visit betterhelp.com/OKC to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/OKC to get 10% off your first month.
Insurica launched a new digital agency. Introducing Insurica Direct. Whether you're in Oklahoma or anywhere across the U.S., they've got you covered. From small business insurance and health insurance for your employees to insurance for individuals like home, auto, and even Medicare supplements. Insurica Direct's got it all. Start your journey today at insuricadirect.com. Remember, at Insurica, we specialize in you.
And head to opolisclothing.com for our podcast merchandise and the best OU gear out there. That's OPOLIS clothing.com and use promo code TED, TED, for 10% off. opolisclothing.com, promo code TED, buttery soft, and 10% off. My word of the weekend, the mighty Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets.
What a game.
Florida State went all the way to Dublin, brought all those fans. They took over that stadium. Georgia Tech said, we do not care. Here's your walk-off field goal. Have a nice flight home. Hold this L.
Woo.
That was Georgia Tech's offense is fun, man. A lot of shifts, a lot of motions, a lot of post-snap, eye candy as well. They got speed at the skill spots. They got a veteran offensive line that was absolutely getting after a Florida State defensive line that's supposed to be one of the better ones in the country. I should have known. Brent Key, offensive line guy, as a head coach. I mean, they got after him, Ted. And it was football can be a pretty simple formula. They were more physical at the line of scrimmage, and they had the better quarterback.
Yep.
That is a good combination to go win a game in Dublin. That was impressive from Georgia Tech.
It was. They ran the ball. They just kept running it right at Florida State. And you're right, Brent Key. I always laugh because I would be a horrible head coach whenever they were setting up for that final field goal and they screwed up that exchange and lost, like, I don't know how many yards, lost 8, 10 yards on that play. I would have lost my mind on the sideline. You ruined it. We had him. You ruined it. He never changed his demeanor. He was calm. We're fine. We'll chew some of it back right here. We're in a good spot. Calm, cool, collective there on the sideline. And they did. They had a nice play on the next down and chewed a big portion of that back up. So I thought they were a very well-coached football team out there. And I think I didn't get to see the entire game. I watched the whole second half, almost every single play. Georgia Tech just looked like the better football team.
No doubt.
It wasn't like they hit on some crazy stuff, and they looked like they were clearly the better football team.
There was nothing fluky about it.
Exactly.
And now I was a little nervous when they kind of settled for that field goal late. I don't know if that was the plan. The snap was late because the center couldn't hear the clap snap count. Please stop doing the clap snap count, please. Please stop it. It's absurd. But I watched pretty much every single play of the game and went, the team in white is better than the team in whatever red Florida State wears. And the team in white had more of a difference maker than the team in red at quarterback. And DJ Uiagalelei, he's getting a lot of heat. He did have some really nice throws in the fourth quarter when they absolutely had to have him, but he's not mobile, man. He's no threat with his legs. And meanwhile, Haynes King was just moving all around, making plays with his legs as a runner and extending plays in the passing game. If you are not a mobile guy, which Uiagalelei really isn't, you better be able to push it down the field and threaten the defense. And whether it was Mike Norvell not designing plays that way, or if it was DJU not taking chances down the field, maybe it was a combination of both. I don't know, but it felt like Georgia Tech never felt threatened vertically. And maybe Georgia Tech's defensive backs deserve credit. Maybe those guys can just absolutely run and no one was open, but everything, there were so many throws with at the line of scrimmage or, within a couple yards of the line of scrimmage, and they just never felt like they opened anything up.
Yeah. DJU to me, he's a solid quarterback. He can make the throws. He can run the offense, but there's no pop. There's no playmaking. There's no, he brings no energy to the position or to the offense, and King on the other side is the exact opposite. He energizes the offense. He's running. He's making plays. Some of the throws he made, that throw he threaded on that follow route while he's getting tackled was beautiful. He's a baller. And I don't know, man. And this is the question I had about Florida State. Was it just one collection of guys and a run up where they were really good, or was it they've built a solid program? And this is a check mark on the side of maybe it was just a really good group of guys that all stayed together. So I don't know.
I do like the fact that with the expanded playoff, Florida State has this big setback in the opener. And their season doesn't feel completely over. Like all of their goals are technically still out in front of them. Mm-hmm. Now, whether they are going to accomplish those goals, that's a completely different conversation. But for those players, that staff, the fan base even, it's like the season's not over. And some people may say, well, I hate that. That's what I loved about college football. And I get that as well. But I, for one, think it's a good thing that you can have a really disappointing game one and still feel like, okay, boys, let's lock in. Let's reset. Everything's still out in front of us. I like that about the new system. I'm a fan of it.
Yeah. No, I got no problem with that. And I think here's what we're probably going to find out. That Georgia Tech is better than what most people envisioned them being. I'm not saying that Georgia Tech's going to be a top 15 program. But that's a good, solid football team. There was plenty of signs last year that it was a team that was headed in a really good direction, off to a big start this year. And like for Florida State, it's like it kind of turns into, does this game define you? Define the season, or is this a point where they rally and whatever issues that they may have had, they start to really dial in and fix their problems and march forward. I'm with you though. I like that. It's way more difficult to lose it off of just one game. I mean, and I guess I get both sides of it, but at the end of the day, we all want to see more better games. And I think that this system is going to give us that.
Did you see
on the front end and on the back end, actually?
Right. Did you see Georgia Tech's Mike Backer?
I did.
44, the pads, the neck roll, the face paint, dude. He's not very great in zone coverage in important moments of the football game, but my goodness, what an aesthetic from that young man.
I know it. Yeah, you're right. One of those plays, I can't remember what one it was. I was like, where is he going in zone coverage? But
it was the fourth down in the fourth quarter where
is that the
DJU
one? Is that
just rips it down the middle of the field.
Yeah, yeah. And he like dropped to the opposite side.
Yeah, he
But no,
overlaps in another guy's zone, and I'm like, oh my gosh, what are you doing?
he was fun. He was good in the box though.
Yeah,
Some of
he
that run
he is
stuff.
a
He's
box linebacker.
physical at the point of attack, knockback tackler, had some attitude to him. Little throwback player. He was fun to watch.
Kurt Herbstreit. I just imagine him flying home with the biggest grin on his face. Now he put a classy tweet out about Florida State, like, "Hey, season's not over." It was very classy of Kurt, but he was getting booed every time he talked on set at game day. That's his show. That couldn't have sat well with him. I'm sure he understood it. I'm sure he loves the passion of the Florida State fans. But for them to do that, and they've been blaming him for them not going to the playoff all year leading up to this moment, and for Florida State to go out there and get beat. Kurt Herbstreit, he would never say it publicly, but that had to, in a small way, had to bring him a little satisfaction in a small way. I think that's only human nature, Ted.
Oh yeah, I'm sure he was kicked back, legs up, sitting back, reclining, relaxing, golden retriever laying on the floor next to him with a big smile on his face. Absolutely. Yeah, I
I,
mean, it's been a wild swing in emotion for Florida State fans the last couple of games from where they were to where they are now. And I don't know, does it mean anything for Norvell or people? Because before last year, I mean, there was some pressure on. So I don't know. I know the fan base isn't going to be happy with that.
I think one thing that Norvell's going to start maybe feeling some pressure about is high school recruiting. It's really hard year in and year out to piece together a team where you're relying on portal guys to be
Yep.
really, really significant contributors. It's just hard, man. It's hard to blend all of that together. So I think he may start feeling some pressure of you got to start bringing in some more talented high school kids and developing those kids. I think that's something you're going to hear. You're going to hear people start to talk about a little more.
Yeah. No,
Their recruiting
I
hasn't
agree.
been bad, but when you're suing your conference because you think you're too good for your conference, then you go
Yeah,
out and do that. The
I
narrative
didn't even
starts
think
ramping
about
up a little
that.
bit.
I didn't even think about that. Ah, that's painful. Yeah, that's painful, man. But again, I know it's not going to matter to Florida State's fan base, and it really shouldn't. But I think Georgia Tech is clearly a better football team than what people have thought they were going to be, myself included. I thought it was going to be a good, solid game. I thought Georgia Tech was going to cover, but Florida State would end up getting the win. But Georgia Tech, from my vantage point, looked like the better football team. So that, I mean, good for Georgia Tech. That could be tough for Florida State.
I feel like all eyes were on that game. Is Brent Key getting too much recognition? Maybe makes Georgia Tech fans a little uncomfortable. Like, no, 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 no. He's our guy.
Yeah,
Please, no. Because I saw
yeah.
what fifth outright win as a double digit underdog under Brent Key, 5-0 against ranked ACC teams. We'll see what ends up happening with this season for Georgia Tech, but you keep doing stuff like that as a head coach, and all of a sudden, Brent Key is a name. You know how athletic directors, they all keep that short list?
Oh yeah.
Brent Key's going to be way up there on that short list if he keeps winning games and keeps building this thing out at Georgia Tech.
I know it. I don't know a whole lot about Georgia Tech, but
Good
and you
school
start to,
in Atlanta.
yeah, you start to think about where they are geographically and the amount of players they're surrounded by. I mean, they knock out a couple of really good seasons. I mean, I could see them starting to grab some market share of recruits in that area quite a bit bigger than what they have now. And that could totally change you as a program.
They also have great jerseys, great color scheme.
I liked what they had yesterday. I thought that was pretty good yesterday.
Gold, white, and black. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
it's just classic.
The
Just
all
looks
whites are
good.
good. They looked good.
They looked good. That O-line, typically you're not thrilled about the all white as a bigger guy. But with the way that those guys played, clearly they embraced the the all white's just a bad look on fat guys. But
You think they had like oh my gosh, what is it called? The
Spanx,
Kardashian Spanx or whatever. They had some Spanx underneath there.
tighten it up,
Just to
boys.
level things out a little bit. That was a good game.
Just a great game to start the college football
It
season.
was. It was.
Long flight home if you're a Florida State player, coach, or
Can you
fan.
imagine?
But for all of us sitting on our couch, just a fantastic way to start college football season.
Brutal for Florida State. Yep. Good one.
For my loser of the weekend, thought about going with SMU. Oof.
Yeah.
They were, I mean, if they didn't have a couple fourth quarter dimes from Preston Stone to that tight end RJ Maryland, Ponies were in serious trouble against Nevada. Serious trouble, but end up pulling it out 29-24 win. But I can just tell you right now, that offensive line is not going to get it done in ACC play.
Yeah.
They got serious problems up front. Preston Stone could be a very long season for that young man.
Yeah. Yeah. They step up in competition, and I don't know. You got to be able to show up. I mean, and I know these week 0 games it's tough. Like you're never the best you're going to be all season early on. Everyone's going to improve. Florida State included, SMU included. You know, this is just the starting point, but it's a race to get better really quickly for those teams, man. You better figure something out in a hurry.
We'll see, but I'm not optimistic after watching one football game from SMU. Think they could really struggle along the offensive line. We'll see. Could end up being wrong. We'll see what Rhett Lashley and that crew can get done. My loser of the weekend, though. Ted, we finally have SEC tiebreakers. It just comes in the form of a 22-page document on secsports.com/FB tiebreaker. I mean, it's all right there. It explains it all. It lays it out for you perfectly in detail. But I was reading through this document and I just looked at it and go, can we please go back to divisions? Like, is it that bad? Is that bad that I am going through all the tiebreaker scenarios kind of broke me mentally? And I just said, you know what? Let's do divisions. It's fine. I don't want to have to read this every year.
I know. It's funny, though, after what we watched last year with the Big 12, it's funny that the SEC takes it right up to the 11th hour before there's a decision made on the tiebreaker situation. It just seems strange, doesn't it? I don't know. It's fascinating.
There are 6 main points. The first one's head-to-head among tied teams. Makes all the sense in the world. The second tiebreaker is record versus all common conference opponents among the tied teams.
Mm-hmm.
The third tiebreaker is record against the highest placed common conference opponent in the conference standings and proceeding through the conference standings among the tied teams. The fourth tiebreaker, cumulative conference winning percentage of all conference opponents among the tied teams. The fifth one is where I went, okay, I'm out. Like, what? Capped relative total scoring margin versus all conference opponents among the tied teams. Ted, what is capped relative total scoring margin?
No idea. I just don't even know what it is.
I think my guess is that did you like if you played the same team or teams as a team you're tied with record wise, who beat those teams by more? Is that
Well, that's what I would think that what's the relative scoring margin against the conference opponents? But what does capped mean?
I don't know. That's why I asked you. I asked you. You're the smart one.
No idea what that means.
Capped relative scoring margin. That's a metric that is derived by comparing the team's points scored and allowed to the opponent's average points scored and allowed. Ah. Does
I don't
that
know why
make
they
did that clarify it for you?
no. Well, I mean it did, but I I guess if you're when you're getting down to the number 5 metric, then it's all going to start to get weird. But
I for one would rather the random draw of the tied teams be ahead of capped relative total scoring margin. Like if we're getting down to that, if we got to get to bullet point 5, let's draw out of a hat and put it on TV and make it very suspenseful. I mean, come on.
I mean, the meltdown of the other teams that would be what makes it good, right?
Right. Right.
Yeah. That would be something, man.
I want to run something by you. I was reading this document because you and I think we take a lot of pride in like knowing the rules
Mm-hmm.
when we're calling the games and tiebreaker procedures. You don't know if they're going to come into play, but like we try to study up on all the stuff we're supposed to know. I think we take pride in that. And I was reading through this, and I know that I feel like we all want, when it comes to conference championship games, we all want the 2 best teams to play for a conference title. I think we all want that. But when you take away divisions, man, this thing gets messy, which led me to an idea. Do a random draw for divisions each year. And maybe you have to do it a couple years in advance for scheduling purposes. Okay. But you randomly, if you're the SEC, you randomly draw divisions every year. 2 8-team divisions. You can use the thing they use at the NBA draft lottery. You can have the ping pong balls. You can do names out of a hat, whatever. But you draw the divisions randomly. Those are the divisions for the season. You play your 7 division games and then a couple or 1 or 2 crossover games, depending on whether the SEC wants to play 8 or 9 conference games. You can randomly draw those as well. You turn it into a TV show.
My only problem with that is it's a good idea. Like there's
it's not a good idea, but it's less confusing than what we've got.
Right.
You take the 2 teams that win each division, they play in a title game.
Yeah. The only problem with that goes all the way back to scheduling. You got to remember, like all of the
scheduling sucks anyways. Look at OU's schedule, look at Florida's schedule, and then look at Missouri's schedule.
I know.
A random draw. There's no way statistically speaking, there is a way, but it's unlikely that you end up with a more unbalanced schedule than what Missouri's got and what Florida's got this year.
Right.
Or what OU's got. OU's got the toughest SEC schedule. Missouri's got the easiest.
Yeah.
So that's where a random draw, like you're going to have a more balanced schedule than what we've got with those 2 teams this season. If you just end up with random divisions.
It's true. I agree with everything you're saying, but I would hey, I would like that. I would like anything. I don't care. Um, I just know that no one would ever you can't get all those people to agree on anything. Anything. And like the main thing that they want is influence over scheduling. And to give up their influence over scheduling would be the most difficult ask of all time. Everyone wants to lobby for what their schedule looks like. But I like the idea.
Make it random. Put it on television. Everyone would be talking about it. It would be, I mean, just imagine the content. Imagine social media as you're randomly drawn who's going to be in the East and the West of the SEC for next season. Like that would be, it would be so fun. Let me make myself clear. It's this will never happen. It will never happen. But as I was reading the tiebreakers and going, why is this so damn complicated? Why is this so hard? I was like, you could just find a way to get back to divisions. And I don't know if there's a more fair way than, hey, draw a name out of the hat and hey, you're in the West. Draw a name out of the hat, you're in the East.
Okay, like for example, like I think the difficulty of your schedule should factor in way more than most of these things. Imagine a scenario in which like Oklahoma and Missouri are tied to
Right.
get into the championship game. And they only had to play like one or two difficult games, and you had to play 6 top 15 opponents. Like that doesn't factor in here at all.
Well, with that example, if you're tied and you have the same record and you're OU and Missouri this year, it's easy. It's head to head. You're playing each other.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, a year they don't. I know what you're trying to say. That like if two teams don't play each other, one's got a really tough schedule, one doesn't. Yeah.
Right. Yep. So, oh no.
I read all 22 pages.
That's the beauty of college football is there's always something that doesn't make sense and pisses you off. Always. There's not like a clear vision of what may happen and how it would go down.
SECsports.com/FB tiebreaker. Go read all 22 pages like I did, people.
There's been 7 people log on to that website, and 5 of them were you.
Yeah, because I had to keep revisiting it. Like, oh my gosh, wait, what? Oh, it's not simple, but we'll see how it works out. We'll see how it goes this season with these tiebreakers here in the new look SEC. Birthday shout outs. Welcome to the world, Jacob James Valenti.
Happy 24th birthday to Abigail Walker Guston.
Happy 26th birthday to Anthony Guston.
And happy birthday to Misty Dawn.
On that note, episode 451 in the books. We'll have a new podcast that'll drop on Wednesday morning. That's going to drop first thing Wednesday morning, people, because we got a Friday night game this weekend. We're going to preview OU Temple. We're going to preview week 1 games. Ted, the season is here. We've done it.
Here.
We've made it. Just a reminder, please subscribe to the podcast wherever you listen to the podcast. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel. You're going to want to subscribe to YouTube. We are planning on doing In the Weeds again this season. Ted, what do you think? Favorite offensive play and favorite defensive play from every game? That's kind of what we're thinking.
I think so. Yep.
Perfect. Those are going to be a lot of fun. Hope you all have a great start to your week. Until next time, we appreciate y'all for listening. Do what you always do, Oklahoma. Take care of each other.